around, all the point totals get doubled. A great take gives you 400 points. A good take gives you 200 points. No cake take gives you 100. And a bad take, again, 0 points right there. To the second college football playoff game, what was much more of a high-flying offensive type game, as we all kind of figured it would be, between the Washington Huskies and the Texas Longhorns. Washington barely pulling out there at the end. Michael Penix Jr., nothing short of remarkable in this football game against Texas, the defense that played relatively well over the last few weeks to get into the college football playoff. Penix finished second in the Heisman voting to Jaden Daniels, despite being probably the best quarterback in the Pac-12 this season, even with Caleb Williams included. And obviously, I think we all would agree Caleb is a sensational talent going to the NFL this year. So I will ask you, Tim, first, and who knows, maybe your team will have an opportunity to take this guy. Is Michael Penix Jr. the second best quarterback in this upcoming draft?
See, I took a kind of exception with that question because I thought he is the best quarterback in this draft. I think the fact that he's thrown for over 4,500 yards, he's thrown 35 touchdowns to 9 picks, and even last night, 29 of 38 for 430 and 2 touchdowns, no picks. I think if it wasn't for his injury past with the torn ACLs, there's no doubt in my mind he's better than Caleb Williams. He's better than Drake May. And that is where I would go. But unfortunately, with that injury history, if I was an NFL GM, I don't think I would take him number 1, number 2 overall just due to that reason. But ultimately, with Caleb Williams, if you want to get into that, I don't like him because I don't think he's a proven winner. Not even a proven winner. I don't think he's a winner, period. Him crying in his mother's arms, talking about how he wants a stake in a team that gets him. It all is too ego, where Michael Penix, he's just a guy that just delivers. He delivered twice against Oregon. He delivered again last night with that high-flying Washington offense that they have, and has just been, I think, lighting up the college football world. If it wasn't, once again, if it wasn't for those knee injuries, I think he'd be the number 1 overall pick.
I'll tell you one thing about him that just absolutely blows me away is his pocket awareness might be the best I've ever seen from a college quarterback. It is absolute A+ stellar. Only thing I would disagree with you on Caleb is there's a lot of pushback from Caleb and his camp about the whole wanting to own a stake in a team. That hasn't been totally founded 100%, but I see where you're coming from. So Tim, I'm going to give you a good take right here to get you to 400 points and the lead right now. But good take. And again, I think Penix is the second best quarterback of the draft. This upcoming draft, we'll see what Mike and Devin think. But the best, I've got a buddy of mine that kind of repeats the same thing that you think. So listen, I think he's a phenomenal talent, and I think whoever drafts him, whether it's your Patriots or anybody else, will be very, very lucky. Moving on to Mike Guido, we were had a brief a Twitter sort of discussion about Michael Penix last night. Do you believe Michael Penix Jr., Mike, is the second best quarterback in this upcoming draft?
No, I think it's close, but no, I wouldn't put him at number 2. I still think that Caleb Williams and Drake May are both better. I think just where the NFL is moving right now, where you have quarterbacks that are really succeeding, that move, you know what I mean? Like Michael Penix, as good as he is with his arm talent, pocket awareness, all of that stuff. Listen, I've loved Michael Penix from the beginning. I liked him last year too. He's just, to me, he's just an exceptional thrower of the football. He really is not a very mobile quarterback at all. I mean, he's really only rushed for 32 yards this entire season. So there is something to be said about that. However, there really is value in guys that can just sit in the pocket and throw. And that's what Michael Penix is. Here's the issues that I'm having with him as far as a draft prospect. I'd still take him in the first round because I think he's that talented. Listen, I think Caleb Williams and Drake May, as far as arm talent, are both, I've seen Drake May make some throws this year that I just don't think anybody else in college football can make. There's just some of these guys that are just insane. But Michael Penix, here's the 2 things I'm kind of questioning about him. The first thing is his age. He's 24 years old, right? He's coming into the NFL as kind of a developed product. How much better can Michael Penix get? That's, I think, the first question you have to ask. The other part of it is that there may not be a quarterback in college football that has a better pair of wide receivers than Washington does with Rome Odunze and Jalen Polk. So there's a real thing right there as far as those 2 guys. He has an excellent left tackle that might go in the first round as well, in Troy Fautanu. So there's a lot of surrounding pieces with Michael Penix. I love him, but I'd say right now he's clearly, to me, the 3rd best quarterback in the class, but it's close.
In terms of your comparison stylistically, and even in terms of some of the minimal drawbacks you see with him, it sounded to me like you just described Joe Burrow coming out of LSU. He had the two great receivers. Like I'm serious. Like not like mobile-ish. Burrow's more mobile than Penix is. I'd say Penix had a better arm than Burrow, but both had phenomenal top two receivers
Burrow,
at LSU.
I think, was more accurate. Burrow's a more accurate thrower than Michael Penix is. But I get what you're saying. Plus, you have to keep in mind, too, I mean, where Joe Burrow came from, I still don't think that I've ever seen a college football team better than what 2019 LSU was. That 2019 LSU team was the best college football team I've ever seen.
Completely agree. That team is absolutely stacked. Beat a bunch of ranked teams badly that year. I completely agree with you. Yeah. Mike, I'm going to give you the great take here. I think your evaluation of Drake May and Caleb Williams was solid, as well as Michael Penix Jr. Bringing some context in terms of the receivers they've got there, and those are both. And again, I've been as big of a proponent as anybody that it's hard to win in today. I shouldn't say hard. It's hard to compete in today's NFL if you don't have a mobile quarterback. Like even Jared Goff, there are some limitations there if you get pressure on him. Maybe some of that's the case with Penix going to the draft. So I'm going to give you a great take, Mike Guido. Finally, to you, Devin Nettles. Is Michael Penix Jr. the second best quarterback in this upcoming draft?
As much as I gotta agree with Mike, man. As much as we want to put Penix up there because we can see the talent around him. We can see that since he's been in college football, like his age, like Mike brung up, that being 24 and you've been in the college football, 5+ years, pretty much. I'm pretty sure your freshman year was like a red shirt, but after that, you've been in systems. So it shows that once you learn a system, he can develop and he can grow into that system and maybe be like that system quarterback. Everybody is now putting the labels on to these quarterbacks nowadays. The only reason why I think that he can put himself into the first round, but I don't think he's going to be a first round. He's a name that you can probably think about, like, can we take him? But then it's like, that injury. You know what I mean? Like Tim said. So it's just like he's everything that you were probably going to want because, like y'all was saying, like for Caleb Williams, he might be a diva. You know what I mean? He might comes in here, might try to cause some little rack, and then his personality might rub off on the coaches or the players wrong, and then nobody's really following them. So that might be his only downfall for him. But as far as Michael Penix Jr., he's not going to get first team reps as soon as he gets drafted by a team. He's going to have to be a guy that going to have to show that he knows the system. He can fight. He can learn. He can scrabble. He can stay healthy because your best ability in the NFL is your availability. And if he can show that his past injuries are in the past and he can stay healthy, then I think eventually 2 years from whenever he, once he get drafted, 2 years, he could potentially be looked at as a top, maybe a quarterback that he can take over a team. But as of right now, man, like I said, I believe he will be a late first rounder going to a second rounder. And he's just not quite the second best quarterback in there. You still got to give it to the other two guys, and Caleb Williams and Drake May.
That's interesting. It's fine. I would feel like pushing back on you saying he's gonna be a late first rounder, but you were the same guy during our draft show live in April that Will Levis was gonna fall to the second round, and you were spot on right in the money on that one. So I got to give props where it's due there. Yeah, and it's the injury concern again, sort of similar. I've heard people compare him to Tua, basically like a bigger Tua with a better arm in certain respects, like in terms of stylistically, obviously them being both left-handed quarterbacks. So I think it makes some fair points. I'm gonna give you a good take as well here, Devin. Good take to tie you right there with Tim. Solid take to get you right there into that second place behind Guido. I think he makes some good points about Michael Penix Jr. Let's move on to our third round. Because we got 3 contestants, it looks like we're going to have a couple more rounds before we get into the final winner take all round. It looks like we got a comment here real quick. Barry Grant Jr. says Penix is going to be in the same boat as Hendon Hooker. That's my guy. It's going to be where he goes where everybody is wanting him. Yeah, and if he does fall to a late first round pick, like if he went to were to fall to potentially my Pittsburgh Steelers, I would take him in a heartbeat. I think that'd be a great system for him potentially with all those great wide receivers there. So we'll see what happens in that regard.
Minnesota, coming up at the
What's that?
Look at Minnesota coming up
to
Kirk Cousins. Sure. They up on a late playoff push. So in that late round, maybe Minnesota can take them.
Yeah, I think Michael Penix has been in higher regard earlier than Hendon Hooker was, but I mean, it's a solid point. The problem is, again, like I said, with Penix, is I think the injury concerns are real, and I think there's going to be a lot of evaluators that are going to say, listen, he's 24 years old. I mean, we can't really sit him, right? He's a grown man, right? How much more is he going to develop? But to me, as of today, I think he's a first-round quarterback, no question.
Well, don't forget too that Hendon Hooker had a season-ending injury and went to the draft. Like Michael Penix is still playing, so I think we're talking Hendon Hooker. That's like a big difference.
Yeah, for sure. And stylistically, they're different as well. All right, let's